On Living St. Louis, we often review our story archive for segments that deserve another airing and sometimes an updating. Such is the case of Anne Marie Berger's 2009 story about a man, his bequest, and what became of it.
In the 14 years I've been producing for Living St. Louis, I've met some of the region's most interesting people. But Don Robinson, he stands out as one of the most unique. Don was a simple man who left a spectacular legacy. When he died in 2012, he gifted more than 800 acres to the Missouri Department of Natural Resources. And in 2017, almost 5 years after his death, Don Robinson's State Park opened to the public. But in order to appreciate this park, you really must know Don Robinson.
"43 years, I was off a year.
Meet Don Robinson. He's a funny guy.
We won't let you fall because we don't want blood everywhere."
But Don's reached that point in his life where he needs to decide what to do with his stuff.
God knows what's happened in this room over the years.
We'll just keep that to yourself, Don.
Right, that's why I just made that vague statement.
No shower stories. And by stuff, I mean his earthly possessions after he, well, you know, dies.
I had to do something about it, or else my melon-head cousins from out of nowhere would come out of the woodwork and sell the joint, you know, over a weekend or something.
How old are you, Don?
In 18 years, I'll be 100.
82.
Yay for the lady.
I didn't even need to use a calculator. Don lives a simple life in a simple home. His house was built in 1928, and he only has heat in his upstairs bedroom, which he calls the comfort zone. I bet it's cold in here in the winter.
Oh, it is. How'd you guess?
Because it's cold in here and it's August.
Yeah, right.
So he doesn't fit the typical profile of a guy who has affairs to get in order. I have to say, it's a little spooky.
It's a cut above camping, but I like it.
But it's not necessarily his house that Don Robinson's concerned with. It's the property it sits on.
Inside of 4 years, I had 843 acres, which is exactly what's in Central Park, to the acre.
Don's 843 acres is located 38 miles southwest of St. Louis in Cedar Hill. His property is in the upper watershed of Lebar Creek. The watershed covers 13 square miles in northwestern Jefferson County and includes both private and public land. It's considered by the Missouri Department of Natural Resources one of the most unique areas in the state.
Lebar Creek is an exceptional, high-quality stream. It's a cascading bedrock stream with small pools and waterfalls throughout its length. It has a tremendous diversity of fish life in it. Over nearly 40 species of fish are known in Lebar Creek.
The entire watershed is about 8,000 acres, and that includes Don's 843. Should I have brought a flare? There are two ways to get around on Don's property: by car on what he calls roads.
Now here you want me to go to the right. You don't want to go through all that mud. Oh God, you're doing it anyway.
There was a big rock. You're kind of a backseat driver, Don Robinson.
Well, I'm telling you what the road.
And there's the more peaceful way on foot.
We really go that
Do
way.
we have to come back up this hill?
Yeah, going down's not the problem.
Don, his friend Nels Holmberg, an ecologist and regular explorer on the property, and I went on a hike in search of what Don calls the Green Gulch. What is Green Gulch?
Well, it's a big box canyon-like place. Moss-covered walls. It's a real jewel.
Don grew up in University City, later lived in Kirkwood, and he bought his first patch of land here back in 1964.
This 320 acres was for sale. We came out here and it was so cold the beer was freezing on top of the cans, and I thought, well, this is really prehistoric, you know. I just got to get it. Well, I bought it for $21,250, and I paid that off in a year, under 2 years. And then, well, and other stuff became available, and I just didn't want to, you know, have neighbors, for God's sake.
In 1978, Don moved from Kirkwood to a Cedar Hill getaway permanently, and he's made his living since 1952 selling off, a super-duper stain remover.
No, it's not good for salad, sandwiches, chest rub, athlete's foot, VD, or mange, but it does do all this stuff. Take spots out of clothes and carpets.
No ringworm or psoriasis removal?
No, we're not claiming that. Well, that's the product.
In fact, Don produces it himself underneath his now defunct swimming
goes in the
pool,
tubes.
using the same dough mixer since the early 50s. Still works like new?
Well, it refuses to die. It's amazing how they build stuff then.
What makes Don's land so unique isn't its size, it's what's on it and how well it's been preserved.
Mostly because of the deep sandstone hollows in it that harbor a whole bunch of very interesting, some rare, plant life, the mosses, the bryophytes, the vascular plants. 106 mosses we found so far, and there are more that we.
You said 135.
135 bryophytes. So that includes the mosses, the liverworts, and the hornworts. You have one hornwort.
Oh. Is that good or bad?
Oh, it's good.
Oh.
Nobody ever finds hornworts,
Oh.
and yet they're here.
Did you know you had all this?
Well, it's pretty big. I mean, when you spread all this stuff out, you're talking about a lot of ground.
So what's an 82-year-old man who's never married, has no children, but has melonhead cousins, to do with 843 acres of prime natural resource?
It's the most depressing thing I've ever had to do, is to figure out what to do with this place. Because after all, it is the last chapter of the book, isn't it? You know? And you say, well, what do you care? Well, what the hell do you mean, what do I care? If you enjoy being dead, you know, that's what's got to happen first, because I'm not leaving.
After much thought and consideration, Don has decided to give his home to those who will continue to take care of it. Don Robinson is leaving every inch of his land to the Missouri Department of Natural Resources.
It's all given to the DNR.
Currently, there are 50 Missouri state parks in the system. Don Robinson State Park will make 51.
How generous and how thoughtful it was of Don to leave this legacy for the people of Missouri. It was generous because the land is very valuable. It was thoughtful because Don could have done anything he wanted with this special place, and he chose to share it with all of us.
In addition to the 843 acres Don is leaving the people of Missouri, he's providing the resources to ensure the property will be well preserved.
Don has provided a trust fund to ensure that we have the funds to properly manage and care for this special place in perpetuity. And funding is a challenge for all government operations, but particularly for parks. So having something set aside like this to ensure that future generations get to enjoy this special place is really tremendous.
I mean, as long as it's there, you know.